So what I find interesting is that his contract extension is through the 2029 season. I was checking to see like if they would try to match Steve Sarkisian's extension, which is through the 2030 season, but it's it comes out to 8.15 million in 2024 after earning 7.1 million a year ago. So, Texas went from Steve Sarkisian was supposed to make 5.8 in 2024 to 10.3. That's what winning the Big 12 and getting into your first college football playoff will do for you. This is kind of I don't want to say a toe tap in the water kind of contract extension, but good for Skeletor. We will be talking to him up at SEC Media. I like Brent Venables actually.
I like him too.
Yeah, he's a good dude, and he's all in on his defense this year. I'm telling you, that defense is going to be one of the best defenses, should be, that Texas faces.
Yeah,
this season, because they got. I mean, if it all comes together, everybody knows they brought in Dominic Williams from TCU, who's got 2 years of eligibility remaining at the defensive tackle position. You get Danny Stutzman back. You got Billy Bowman back at safety, who seemed to be delivering big hits all over the Cotton Bowl last year. And
JT Sanders wakes up in the cold sweat thinking about Billy Bowman.
Yeah, that was the goal line hit. Ball was a little high to JT, but got those ribs exposed, and Billy Bowman kind of crunched him.
What's frustrating about that play, though, Chip, is that JT Sanders took licks that season and still caught the ball. So it wasn't like, it was just some random Joe Schmo trying to make a catch in traffic. Like, this is JT Sanders. You feel really confident about him making that catch. And you're right, it was high, a little high for Quinn, but also, who knows? Quinn threw it in the best place that he could to not maybe get intercepted or just give him a chance. And, God, that was a huge momentum shift.
Yeah. It was big. It was a big momentum shift.
Man, Billy Bowman, is he not getting draft looks? What grade's he in?
He's young.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Billy Bowman.
No, I'm seeing senior this year.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so what?
Who am I thinking?
I don't know.
Who's the other safety for the – hold on a minute. Yeah, go ahead.
Robert Jennings Spears?
You're thinking he could have gone to the league.
Yeah. I mean, I know safeties ain't what it used to be, so maybe not. Why not come back and put up more film in the SEC? I can't knock that, but yeah, their defense, they're going to be very underrated and stingy. It's just, gosh, Brent Venables, like 10-8, 2 years in the Big 12 extension, no bowl wins. Don't even get to New Year's. You beat Texas, though. That's big. You beat a good Texas team. That's big. So, I mean, you know what, Chip? When I saw this is an odd thing to think of, but the writing's kind of on the wall for Dabo if you have another bad year. And once that Clemson job becomes available, I feel like Brent Venables will be the first person to get the call. So this could be OU taking care of things before that even happens, because Dabo's out here wilding, like no transfers, no nothing. Like, he's being very arrogant how he's going about it. We don't know how this season's going to go because, again, the ACC, it ain't tough enough for Dabo to be struggling. So if they're looking at, okay, Dabo might not be the coach for Clemson in 2025, Brent Venables would probably be the guy that they call. I know Clemson being in the ACC, there's probably going to be a change with them in a few years, but I think Oklahoma saw that and was like, maybe even though Brent might not deserve it, maybe we should extend him so he feels comfortable. So when those questions are asked or that job becomes available, we ain't got no problems down here.
Well, mark the tape. June 21st, Zay Collier saying what he's saying right now because the ACC is a ticking time bomb. We know Florida State's already trying to, they have filed litigation testing the grant of rights of the ACC and if they could get out for less than all the money they would owe penalty wise, because the way things are moving, you would think that there could be some resolution of that litigation in the next 12 months. And if Clemson could move into either the SEC or the Big Ten, I'm not saying they could, and this is a bad time for Clemson to be leaking oil. They were 9-4 last year. They haven't suffered 4 losses since like before Dabo got there, or right when he got there, at least 10 years. So that's interesting. Now, the guy who everybody was looking at as a high riser is Garrett Riley, Lincoln's younger brother, who left TCU after going to the national championship game to become the OC at Clemson. And it was not a great year last year. But Cade Klubnik's a year older. You've got veterans back in the offensive line. You've got to hope they got better skill talent, because last year it seemed to be all Will Shipley. And God bless Will Shipley, but that's a lot to put on a running back. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I like where you're going with that, because obviously Brent Venables was there for the 16 and 18 national championships. In fact, and I've said this, you had Deshaun Watson leading one, you had Trevor Lawrence leading the other, but the main reason Clemson won those national championships was because of Christian Wilkins and Dexter Lawrence right in the middle of the defensive line. Those dudes just didn't put up with anything. They demoralized Alabama 44-16. That's the worst beating Nick Saban's ever gotten in a college football playoff game. So, Brent Venables was a key part of that equation. And it looks like he's got it going defensively at Oklahoma. Now we'll see. I mean, this is what's fun. The first 6 games of the year for the Texas Longhorns, they're going to face the Michigan defense, which was the best in the country last year. Gave up 10 points a game. And then they're going to face the OU defense, and then they're going to face the Georgia defense. So in the first 7 games. So,
I'm looking at OU's roster. They might have one of the most underrated wide receiver rooms in the nation. Yeah. You got Jaleel Farouk coming back, who killed you last year.
Nick Anderson.
Deion Burks.
Andrew
Anthony. Those 4 guys can make plays.
Adele Anthony, who transferred from Michigan.
Yeah, man. Like if Jackson Arnold can figure it out, Red River, especially with Georgia the following week, I'm telling you, everybody's saying, this Texas has a favorable schedule, and Brad Crawford, our guy, staying 11-1. I'm like, okay, I love it. It sounds good. But as we get closer and closer to the season, and as we break these other teams down more and more, I'm getting more and more nervous. Because, again, it's all on Jackson Arnold, in my opinion. You're right. Brent Venables, the defense, of all the guys that they got returning, all that experience and leadership, Brent Venables' defense should be a year better. And then that wide receiver group, it's all on Jackson Arnold. If he could figure it out, because he's supposed to be a big-time 5-star player, the guy that sent Dylan Gabriel to Eugene because they didn't value Dylan Gabriel enough for him to feel like he should be able to stick around. If that dude, Jackson Arnold from Denton Guyer, can figure it out, look out SEC. That sounds terrifying because that roster's good. That roster's good. I think Texas has the better roster, but we thought Texas had the better roster a year ago. And they did, but how'd that game go?
They turned it over.
They turned it over. So just those key plays, man.
That was the best and worst of Quinn Ewers all in one game. It was a weird game. Two turnovers in the first half, including the early, like second play of the game where he throws the pick and in the red zone, in his own red zone, leads to a quick touchdown for OU, and then the interception that we were just talking about where he's thrown to JT Sanders at the goal line. And Texas ended up, getting the ball back and scoring, but that was disrupted momentum. It messed things up. I mean, there's no two ways about it. So yeah, here's the thing about, or go ahead.
Well, you're in the goal line again and you don't come up with any points.
Right.
Right. And that was the problem last year, the goal line.
That was a problem. Here's the thing about Jackson Arnold. He can run. He's got good speed. He's a guy that they're going to have to account for in the running game. After what happened last year, Dylan Gabriel running for 114 yards. Dylan Gabriel was the difference. I said going into that game in our pregame show on Texas Sports Unfiltered that Dylan Gabriel was going to have to play the game of his life, and he did. And Bucky was like, watch out for this guy running the ball. And sure enough, well, here comes Jackson Arnold. He can run around. Now, Texas was really good against Will Howard and Avery Johnson. They kind of discovered a package as the year went on, Texas did, that they liked, where you'd bring in Mo Blackwell as kind of the contained guy, and you'd move Jahdae Barron up to the line of scrimmage. And you had basically Jahdae Barron, Jalen Ford, and Mo Blackwell with Anthony Hill up on the line to seal the edges and contain the quarterback. And Texas's depth this year should allow Texas to not have to play their middle linebacker every single snap of the game like they did with Jalen Ford, who was gassed.
So tired.
By the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And everybody could see it. So, that's going to be a hell of a game. It's going to be a hell of a game.